This is Dr. Madeleine. She's an author, researcher, a teacher of neuroscience and satir in the Santre, and a psychotherapist. And she's going to talk now about transforming depression using neuroscience and satir in the Santre. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Thank you. So depression, I would start with something like, can you show me what that looks like? It's very important to have them show me rather than tell me. So show me. So they might choose something that's very small, maybe hidden, and we will talk about the symbols, the metaphor of depression. So that's the first thing to do. And sometimes I might then say, can you show me what it would look like if you didn't feel this way? And we would talk about that. So we've got two images in the Santre. One of the present, of how they're feeling and how they're small and how they feel vulnerable, powerless. But they wouldn't talk about them. They talk about, for example, the rabbit. Let's take a rabbit hidden in a little cave somewhere. And they would talk about how the rabbit is feeling and how the rabbit would love to be different. And then we'd make a picture of what that would look like for the rabbit. And it would be guaranteed it would be filled with trees, peace signs, angels, perhaps connection with others. All those parts of them that they're yearning for, which they don't have. But it's all done in the metaphor. And what we're doing is we're accessing novel metaphors of implicit memories, of experiences that perhaps aren't aware of at a conscious level through the use of these figurines. And so then we've got these two images, right? We've got present and we've got future. And then I'll say, can you show me what's getting in the way? And that might be something like a fence or something maybe fierce. And then we'll look at that and see how that has been helpful. So this is a satir part. She's positively directional. And rather than looking at the problem, we're looking at how it has been helpful, how it has kept them safe. How's that helped the rabbit to keep safe?
That sounds imaginative and playful, like you were saying. And for children, it would be obviously easy for them to do that. And what about for adults?
It's interesting because Santre is seen as something, and play therapy comes under the umbrella of play therapy, is seen as for children, but in fact it's really, really good for adults. I would say that to access the unconscious memories and experiences of the past is unattainable through words. That's why my book is called Where Words Can't Reach, because those memories are not stored in forms of language, they're stored in patterns of energy. And so the only way to access them is through symbols, in other words, figurines or art therapy or other symbolic ways of accessing it.
And in terms of depression, what would be the end result typically in the Santre, and how would that get transferred out of the Santre and into the client? What would it look like? What sort of things would they be able to do differently from what they've done in the Santre?
Okay, so let's just go back to the Santre. What happens is you've got sort of often three images. You've got the depression and what that looks like. You've got how you want to be different, the yearnings, and then in the middle you've got this sort of the defenses and the fears, and gradually as we look at the positive intentions of keeping safe, of shutting down in terms of the depression, which is really a way of coping, of shutting down, and how that's been helpful and what's come out of that. What happens is these images, these three sort of separate pictures, become one, and things start to move, and people will say, I don't need that anymore, I don't need that fence anymore, that dragon doesn't fit anymore, it's much smaller. And so gradually you get this coming together, and very often one picture emerges in the Santre.
And integrated.
That's integrated. That's an integration. That's an integration within. within the client, and they can feel it. So I'm always checking in the body. I'm always saying what's going on in your body as you look at this now. And gradually things shift in their bodies. And then the energy that Dan Siegel talks about is able to flow between the two hemispheres of the brain and between the parts of the brain and the body. And that's integration. And you literally can see it in the sanctuary. It's very, very palpable. And then at the end, I'll say, how will you be different? In other words, what new decisions can you now make for yourself?
How will you be different?
But not doing. It's not doing things differently. It's not trying to do something, or I will remember. It's I will be able to go back and be different with my partner, for example. I won't be as reactive. So they can make a commitment. They can anchor that change, and they're not always convinced, but the research is very clear that actually does happen over and over and over again.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.